Okay, I think all systems are go. Apologies if we're having, yep, we're on TV. Excellent. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 8th, 2024 meeting of the City of Revere Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. My name is Joe Gravelisi, Chair of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, and we're back here in the City Council chamber today. As always, we'll start just by taking a quick call of the roll. So I'm present. Vice Chair Claire Anzarillo.
Present.
Present. Here with us on Zoom. Our Treasurer, Anayo Smaki.
Here, present.
And Leila Pietri.
Present.
Lori Manzo.
Present.
And Matt Wolfer.
Present.
And Dean Harris. And Deb Frank is not present today. Apologizes for her absence. Okay. And then also I note that representing the city here is Lorena Mescalera from the Planning and Community Development Department. First item is ratifying the previous meeting's minutes, which I sent around for folks to review. I'm going to ask for unanimous consent. Any objection? Seeing none. Finances update now, so we'll go to Anaya for that.
Good evening, everyone. This is an update from the Assistant Budget Director for the City of Revere, Auditor's Office, Asunta Newton. The current budget for the Affordable Housing Trust Committee is $1,153,850.04.
Excellent. Okay, now we'll move on to some standing items and updates. So top of mind, just to update folks on 133 Salem Street, the Northern Strand condos. We've been in the process of finalizing. You know, we had kind of gone through the steps of adding 2 units to that development via our efforts as the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. And Claire and myself and the staff here in the city have been working with the developer, with CHAPA, with Mass Housing, with various folks, and with our consultant Liz Rust to nail down the details for that. And now we believe that we're in a pretty good place to kind of know how the process is going to work. So with the authorization of the board and with the board's agreement, we've determined that the best way to go about things to make sure everything works as smoothly as possible is for our deed restriction for the unit to mirror the Commonwealth Builder program and the way it works. So that's a 15-year deed restriction. I know that some of us had a preference for permanent in perpetuity. I kind of did as well, but it would create some complications with the lottery process to do it as a different type of deed restriction rather than mirror the Commonwealth Builder. By aligning it, not only is it kind of one lottery process as outlined in the marketing plan, which I sent around to everybody, and also will be publicly available once it's done. It also means that CHAPA can do the monitoring of the deed restriction, make sure that income is verified and that the policies are followed appropriately. They were already going to do that for the other units, so now they can do that for these 2 as well with no additional cost to the city or to the trust. So that was something that we were looking out for. We didn't want to have to pay extra to monitor and track. And I don't think we quite have the internal capacity yet to do that. Maybe we can build up to that one day, where we have the ability to review and make sure that people are with the appropriate income level and verified are in these units. But CHAPA has great experience doing this with monitoring it. They're the experts really, and for them to be able to do it at no additional cost, I think is a great win for us. So in total now, if we all agree to mirror the Commonwealth Builder process, it'll be a combined lottery for 20 units, including the 2 that our subsidy added to it. 14 of those 20 units would have a local preference. The details of that local preference are broken down a little bit per the city council's special permit for this, involving some seniors and veteran preferences, but that's within the local preference. So the senior piece, veterans piece, and then local residents piece. And then for the other 6, the local preference folks still could get those units, so they'd just would be in a general lottery pool with anyone else that applies who meets the eligibility. The rough intention, these things are always fluid, would be to launch the lottery June 1st, to have an info session in mid-July, to close the lottery at the end of July, July 31st, and then conduct it at some point in August, monitored and overseen by CHAPA. So they would have be monitoring that as the developer was doing it. So that's the plan. If the board approves, I think that it's, obviously there's certain things that maybe if I had my ideal, maybe one or two things might be different. Maybe the length of the deed restriction. Perhaps if we could have pulled the 2 units out completely and made them both like a local preference. I think that lots of things that maybe could be, but all things considered, after talking this through with staff and kind of going through it with our consultant and everything, this is a plan that works. And it means that hopefully in August, there'll be a lottery and people can move in this fall and we'll be able to kind of celebrate together and know that we were able to contribute to 2 families or households here, being able to access home ownership in the community. So at this point, all we would really need to do, and I'll put it up for a vote, is to authorize that plan. And then from there, we would, work with you and I on the financial piece to draft a letter authorizing the transfer of the funds for our share of the subsidy. And then we just keep folks posted within the board on the lottery process and timing. So with that, I'd like to,
Question.
Yeah.
So they're only deed restricted for 15 years. Person wins it now. They're into it, the 250 or whatever. So they've already a couple $100,000, plus. At the end of the 15 years, if they were to resell, are they entitled to that difference in money then between, if they sell it for 500,000, let's say it appreciates a little bit, and the 250 that they're kind of buying it for, are they getting that 250,000?
So the way it works under Commonwealth Builder is that it's a 50-50 split, essentially, of the proceeds between the owner that sells it and then the whoever did the subsidy. Am I stating that correctly, Lorena? So if it was one of the actual Commonwealth Builder units, that money would go back to Commonwealth Builder program. And if it was the unit 102 or 202 that we subsidized, half of the proceeds from the sale would come back to the Affordable Housing Trust at that point, at the time of the sale.
In effect, get that money back maybe, or a portion of it. All right, that sounds.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, as a general rule, my personal preference would be for our board to create units in perpetuity for purpose of the subsidized housing inventory. But a positive sum benefit of this is, the household that wins, they build some equity, which is nice, but also it's not fully appreciating to them. There's also funds that come back. If the value of this skyrockets over the next 15 years, a modest proceed comes back to the trust in the future for use for, future housing. So that piece of it is a positive compared to if there was no rider on it at all, and all the proceeds kind of went to a private benefit. So that's a appropriate concern. I'm glad you asked the question, but that's how that works. Other questions? No? So with that, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to follow the Commonwealth Builder process as you laid out, and move forward with that plan for the combined lottery monitored by CHAPA. Do I hear any objection? Seeing none? So ordered. Congratulations, everyone. This is a significant accomplishment. I think we've done a few interesting things as a board so far, but this is obviously the first time that we've directly been able to subsidize the creation of a home ownership opportunity in the city. So it's something to be really proud of. So, and I know that we've been working on it for months and going through the ins and outs and the finances and the details and how it works. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts on that. All right. The next item on the agenda, under kind of our standing items, is related to the home repairs proposal that Habitat for Humanity did their pitch, and we talked about looking at that as an option, and we talked about doing our own thing. I think that with some of the other things that we have on the agenda coming up for for June, and with Salem Street, we don't want to rush into this. I think we want to take some time to think through it. So I would not want us to make a decision on this yet. My hope is that we can form, and if anyone's interested and wants to join this, a subcommittee, for purposes of complying with open meeting law, that can meet separately and have a conversation both about the merits of the habitat proposal as well as the merits of doing a different concept for home repairs. I'm in the process of setting up a follow-up meeting with Barry Weiss from Habitat to bring to him some of the questions that you guys might have, if you want to formulate those. But I would like to know if there's folks that would be interested in participating in a subcommittee on that, being on those types of calls.
Well, I would, first of all, and second of all, last meeting, we had some concerns with their proposal that we voiced in terms of how much of the funds will be going to overhead, or if there's going to be assistance and supporting their cause, or even just the particulars. I think Matt brought up very interesting points about how specific we need to sort of see their breakdown of funds. Have they followed up on the, I don't.
So we haven't had a chance to have a follow-up on some of the questions yet. My hope is to set up that meeting for next week, and I think that, if we could get 3 members or so of the board to join in that meeting. And I'm gonna, not to exclude anyone else, I'm gonna eye Matt because I think that you had an eye for the finances there. And I believe we'd be able to, under the rules, have up to 4 people, without violating open meeting law. So is there someone else that would want to participate in that as well? All right, Lori. So I am going to ask that we unanimous consent to authorize that 4-person subcommittee to explore the home repairs proposal. Do I have any objection? So just so folks, so the next steps on that are going to be, whether you're on this subcommittee or not, put together your thoughts, your questions, things that we want to prioritize and explore when it comes to this concept. Specific questions for Habitat, including the ones that we talked about at the meeting, our subcommittee will bring up when we set up a meeting with Barry to kind of drill into the details. I'm also going to spend some time next week talking with the mayor's team about this, because I know that this is doing something like this is a priority for them, and we want to make sure that everyone's vision is aligned. I want to talk to the council president as well, Councilor Cogliandro, and get council perspective. So those are the next steps there on that, and we can move towards trying to come to a more concrete plan in the next couple of months. Any questions or feedback on that piece? Oh, terrific. Excellent. I have, just as a standing item, and there may be no real significant updates since we just met 2 weeks ago, but with Lorena here, tax title properties, any kind of updates on where those are in the pipeline?
I do have several updates, but I did want to start first with the down payment assistance, just because it will pair and be more of a priority as we approach the lottery process. So we finally signed the contract for the state earmark to pilot a down payment assistance program. The state gave us $25,000, and I think that at this point, it would be good to think about if the trust would like to match that. Since I looked at some of the studio prices for the 70% AMI range, the down payment assistance would be about $8,500 at the smallest unit. So, and then the 2 bedrooms, the highest down payment to put down would be about $13,000. So if you can match with an additional $25,000, we could be able to adequately support potential first-time home buyers through that condo lottery.
And so would your thought or preference on that be that we would match it for purpose of it would still be, we'd have 5, qualified folks, but then we'd be able to do 10 to each in addition to what they'd be able to get from the state?
I think so.
I personally would be on board with that. I'd want to hear other people's thoughts, because obviously there's different ways we could go about it, but I agree that would allow us to make the money go further.
I agree that it's great to do that and would like to do that. Are we able to earmark the $25,000 for a specific property for a down payment assistance program? Or do we have to open it up to all and review applications that way? Can we earmark it for a specific development?
So, well, we could, but the way that I envisioned, and I think my understanding, and you can all tell me if this is not how you saw it, The down payment assistance program was not gonna be for a specific property. It was gonna be we were gonna develop an application, and we have a consultant, Liz Rust, folks that can help us develop that application. We'd put it out publicly, in the paper, online, et cetera. And anyone who's a Revere resident, who's a first-time home buyer, meets that residency guideline, could apply within a certain window. If we got more than 5 applicants, then we would have to conduct a lottery. But if we got 5 or fewer in a certain time period, then they would, just be those ones that submitted it, and we'd be able to put in that assistance. So that is the way that these programs have kind of run in other communities that have done them. And so the thought would be, the 5 came in from the state per person times 5, and if we put in 25 from the trust's funds, which frankly, interest alone has kind of helped allow us to be able to afford this year, then we could do 10, per recipient. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
I'll make the motion then,
Yeah.
put $25,000 up to the
Yeah.
down payment assistance program.
I second that. All in favor? Any
Yes.
opposed? All right,
Yes,
so-
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is the same, this is part of the Massachusetts Healthy Homes Program?
This is a state earmark grant that the city of Revere solely received to run a pilot program for down payment assistance.
Yeah, so, sorry. Senator Edwards and Representative Giannino and Turco, asked for this to be included in the state budget as an earmark last year, for the money to specifically be earmarked for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for the purpose of doing a first-time home buyer down payment assistance program. So we must use the state money for that, and then it's our option to add our additional Affordable Housing Trust funds that we already had on top of that. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Other questions about that? And I have it on the record that we approved this unanimously. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Terrific. Thank you. Other updates? Yeah.
Now we can move on to the tax title properties. So I shared with you all, Matt, I think if you can just share with Dean for today, I'll give you an extra copy after the meeting. We received a feasibility report from D'Ambrosio LLP, who's the city's legal counsel, on potential affordable developments of some vacant parcels that were derived from a taxing foreclosure list. So out of the 6, the report concluded that 5 out of the 6 properties are potentially buildable with the necessary zoning relief to construct on undersized lots and for additional zoning relief, whether that be through setbacks or parking. You can read this in your spare time more, but it has a summary of each of the 6 properties. The only one that was deemed as unbuildable was 2 lots on Neponsit Street. And the reason that it's unbuildable is that it's too undersized to qualify for the pre-existing vacant lot. Under our zoning, you would need 3,000. However, the lot area is 2,400 square feet. And so with these properties, Tom and I are planning to prepare a request for proposals package to be able to request to dispose of the properties for affordable development. So we're looking through the evaluation criteria. A highly desirable proposal would be one that would offer 100% affordable housing. These lots are very small, but we're hoping that we can get single families, 2 families in some of them.
Terrific, and I know that that'll be an internal process, and we'll have time to review both this letter and then the RFP as that goes through. And then obviously, I think I'm speaking for everyone when I say that once that RFP starts to come together, we as a board would be interested in figuring out ways that we can be involved with and support that process, for sure.
Just a quick question. Is there a funding request proposal that what's the actual ask?
The ask would be the actual lots, so the applicants could apply for more than one of these these 5 properties. We're also looking to hire a real estate agent to be able to assist with the proposals and marketing the lots and the properties on Redfin, Zillow, and answering questions for the proposers.
Okay, when they say it's 100% affordable, it's the same like the buildings that are on Beach Street, that is 100% affordable? This is for like a housing?
Yeah, this would be for a smaller affordable housing construction, so we're hoping
It's just
that.
for seniors or is for females? Oh,
We haven't set any preferences yet, but we're thinking of affordable housing, so at least 80% of the area median income affordability in Revere.
Okay.
Other questions on the tax title properties? I envision that, you know, this will be another thing that we'll want to drill into and form a subcommittee and start talking through, but it's just preliminary at the moment. So I encourage everyone to review this, and if you think of questions about it, or frankly, preferences that we should be suggesting to Loretta and Tom as they craft the RFP, fire them away, either at one of these meetings or just reach out, you know, because I think we all have a voice here, and we've all spent a lot of time thinking about some of the needs and preferences for affordable housing in the community, so we will have valuable insight to provide as the RFP gets put together.
Lori, I just have one structural question to ask. What's the time frame you're gonna put together this RFP and how we can sort of manage it with the other things that we're looking at, like Habitat for Humanity and that sort of thing?
Good question. So I was given like a 2-week window to help start working and drafting the RFP, but we're really open to suggestions. If any of you have worked on a request for proposals like this, happy to talk to. But we're also, sorry, and then we're looking at releasing the request for proposals bit at the end of this month or early June.
Thank you. Other questions for Lorena?
Just to be clear, like what does that RFP entail? Is that like a building plan and costs?
So I think it's a description of each of the 5 lots and what they, like a design proposal, a financial feasibility study on how they plan to subsidize, or if they even plan to subsidize. So some of the people that we can give a courtesy notice to the request of proposals are like Habitat of Humanity, maybe people that work with smaller developments in the affordable housing space.
Got it.
Other questions? No? Well, thank you. These are all exciting updates, so appreciate it. Anything else from the city corner that you wanted to share?
One last thing is just a heads up that for July, our conservation meeting is scheduled for July 10th. So just be aware
Okay.
that we're on for the second week of July at 7.
At 7. So I'm going to make a motion that we move our meeting for July up to 6 o'clock, so that way we can run it from 6 to 7 and still have it here. Can I ask for unanimous consent? Any objection? Seeing none. Just make a note of that. July meeting, 6 PM, pre-Concom. Excellent. So the next kind of and I think last super substantive item for this one is our June planning sessions with J.M. Golston, you know, to follow up on the meeting we had a couple weeks ago, where our consultants are going to kind of talk through the vision, budgeting process, et cetera, for the Affordable Housing Trust. We have those sessions set up, and you should have all received the invites for June for the 6th and the 13th. As we discussed, for the 6th, having the meeting here, the goal is to bring in some outside folks as well within the community, outside of the trust, but within the, interested parties. That'll bring something to the table that we want to hear their input and their thoughts on planning for the next 5 years of the Affordable Housing Trust. Obviously, that invitation is open to everyone, right? It'll be posted public meeting. But I wanted to personally, as a board, reach out to specific groups and folks to invite them to join us. And here's the list I came up with, and I want to see if folks have anyone else that they want to add. So I have Revere Housing Authority, staff and board, our legislative delegation, our elected officials, so our city council, school committee, mayor, and the mayor's office. The mayor's transition team, which has wrapped up its work, but I think they did a lot of talk and thinking and discussing affordable housing, so I'd like to invite them. So that includes folks like Jay Ash, the former chair of economic development for the state, and former mayor Paul Broder of Melrose. Some folks that have that outside expertise as well. Revere Housing Coalition, TND, and CHAPA are 3 organizations that I thought would make sense to extend invitations to as well. I wanted to see if there's other groups or individuals or folks that we want to invite to that June 6th session. Obviously, feel free to suggest them now, but if you think of anyone, between now and June 6th, feel free to let me know as well. Want to open that up? Any thoughts?
Joe, I have a quick question.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Is that Claire? Hi.
Yeah, sorry. Is the June 6th meeting going to be an open public meeting?
So it's a public meeting in the sense that it's open to the public, but it's not like a public forum like the Housing Production Plan Forum where the purpose of it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I advertised it correctly.
Yeah.
So I'll advertise it as a joint meeting between a special meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and
Yeah.
that will enable us all to be present and discuss.
Yep, exactly. And so I know that we have folks that watch, and I'm not even saying that facetiously. I appreciate the feedback that we get, the emails and commentary that people watch on TV, which is great. Folks are always welcome to come here and participate in the meetings if they'd like in person. We have a window for that if anyone wants to add their own comments or feedback. So, terrific. Any other thoughts on those June coordination meetings or folks that we should be inviting? Seeing none. And then I wanted to just mention, because I want to keep them on the agenda as standing items, although I don't think we have anything on them yet, but I want to just keep them on folks' mind as we think about, we already are tackling a few big projects, but we should think about these as well. One is thinking about what rent-to-own programs might look like and like exploring other cities or folks that do them and ways that we might be able to look at doing something like that, because I think that's a really innovative, interesting idea. Then another is looking at private fundraising and grant opportunities that we can look at as a board as a way to supplement what we get from the city. I think that, and actually Lorena, I don't know if I know that as part of the budgeting process for the year, we're looking at someone to oversee grant writing for the city who would be, I believe, positioned within the Planning and Community Development Department, if that works out. Is that TBD? Got it. But it is, I'm not making that up, that is something that we're trying to do as a city, is that right? And I think that my thought would be we should hold off on kind of creating a strategy on pursuing grants until that person's in place, if they are in place, because they'd be the right person to spearhead it and kind of have that knowledge of what opportunities are available, and then we could do our nudging on kind of where we'd like to see it go. But obviously, if other folks have ideas or thoughts, we're always happy to pursue them. Same with private fundraising, like we could look into things like doing a fundraiser, doing a gala, doing we can explore these types of things, so noodle on it. Anything on those items before I move to one last thing? No? Okay, so the last thing I want to do is, we've done a lot in the last few months, which I think is really exciting. We've sparked the additional 18, the initial 18 units of the Commonwealth Builder Project. We subsidized the additional 2 to make it 20. We've engaged with Habitat and looked into the senior home repairs program. We've supported the work of the housing production plan. You know, we chipped in some finances and some support to dig through that, and they did their survey and got some interesting feedback on it. We got this earmark to do a first-time home buyer down payment assistance program. That's a lot to do in a few months, which is really exciting, and we're going to be doing this planning process. So I would suggest that now is a good time for us to work on like a press release to send out to local press and post through the mayor's office and communications and such about what we're up to, you know, kind of what we've been doing as a board and key priorities. I know that the Journal does a great job covering the meetings anyway, which is great, and we appreciate. So with folks' permission, what I'd like to do is put together an outline of things that I think should be included. I'll send it around to folks for your feedback, and then I'll work with the mayor's communication director on actually getting that drafted, and I'd love to get something out for folks to be able to get some insight into what we do. Anyone have any thoughts on things to include, ways to go about that, et cetera? But I think that that's something that we should do in the next couple of weeks. Any questions, comments, feedback?
I think you hit the right highlights. So I don't think there's much more that we've done, but we've done a lot, and it'll impact people's lives, and we should get it out there.
It will, and we will, and I think we should all be really proud. You know, I think we've got a really diverse set of expertise in the room, which is cool. You know, people that can bring different perspectives, and I think we've seen the fruits of that with the way we've put together some of our programs, right? It's, I think we've done our due diligence. You know, we've explored different ideas, different ways of doing things, and ultimately are coming to decisions that are going to be really helpful and do what we can and impact what we can, you know, with the budget that we have. So really grateful for everyone's hard work, and I look forward to highlighting that with with the press release in the next few weeks. So with that, our next meetings will be those June sessions, the 6th and the 13th. If anyone has feedback on folks we should invite, et cetera, you know, please feel free to send it along. And I will also be sure to update folks if there's any important changes or anything that happens with Salem Street. But as of now, I think our work is kind of done on that. Now it's over to, you know, CHAPA and our consultant and city staff to monitor, and we'll get to see that come through. But if that changes, I'll let everyone know. Any other?
Joe.
Yeah. Yes,
That-
sorry. It's
Claire,
clear. It's
sorry.
the voice of God.
While we are self-plugging with this press release, I want to flag for everyone that I am still missing just a few bios for our website. So please do not forget, or else I will write something maybe made up about you. So if you are missing one from the website, please send me a little blurb.
Terrific. Yes, and thank you, Claire, for getting that up. And a shout out to Claire, not only for having the bios on the website, but also timely posting of the minutes and agendas. Much appreciated. And we definitely want to get all of those up, which we are required to do, and we do, but also some of the additional documents and things that she's uploaded to keep people, you know, keep the public posted about what we're doing. So we appreciate that. Any other late items or thoughts or things for the greater good? Well, I did promise that after the marathon last month and what I anticipate will be 2 long meetings next month, that this would be a brief one. So I think that we are set to adjourn. So do I hear a motion to adjourn? I'll second. Any objection? Seeing none, we'll see you in a couple weeks.